Welcome to another episode of Tools, Talents, and Techniques. I'm your host, Dustin Sutton, and today I am very pleased to have with us Mr. Jeff Woolson. I've been looking forward to this for a while. We have a lot of things to cover. And before we go into your origin story and to hear more about your journey, could you just briefly introduce yourself and say a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. It's Jeff Woolson. I'm the Managing Director and Vice Chairman of CBRE's Golf and Resort Properties Group. We are based in Carlsbad, California, but our practice is North America and really worldwide. We cover properties down in the Caribbean, down in Central America. I just got back from Belize, and once in a while we get called upon to help our partners over in Europe market, mostly in Ireland and Scotland and the UK, some golf resorts over there. So it's really a North American practice. We sell premier leisure properties. I think that's the best way to put it, Dustin. It's golf courses, marinas, and ski resorts, and the land and resorts that go with those assets, if that makes sense.
It makes more than perfect sense. It sounds like a dream job because really what you focus on are most of the things in my life that I love. Not most, but many of the things in my life that I love was commercial real estate, golf, and travel. And so one of the reasons why I'm really excited to have this conversation, not only because I know, you're a great person yourself, but I wanted to hear more about how you got here. So
Sure.
could you start from the beginning? Like where are you from and where is the Jeff Woolson origin story?
Sure. Well, I'm born in Los Angeles, born and raised in LA, and came down to go to school at San Diego State. When I came down to San Diego State, I had just got done doing an internship at K-Rock up in Pasadena, and I was a disc jockey, got on the air at KROQ, and this is 1980 to 1982, and if you know music, that was a prime time to be in the new wave and punk broadcast business, and K-Rock was the leader in that field. And when I came to San Diego to go to San Diego State, I never thought I'd be back back on the air, but then I got on the air in January of 1983 with a radio station down here called 91X. It was 91X Rock of the 80s. And I was their full-time, part-time disc jockey. I was going to school at San Diego State University, and I worked every weekend, and I worked in the summer. I worked every day. The disc jockey wanted to take a vacation off, and I was that guy. Quickly learned that those people don't make any money. But if you really wanted to make money in radio, you got into the sales side of things. I saw those guys driving the nice cars and the disc jockeys driving their old beaters. So I quickly transitioned to sales, which it wasn't easy to do. The artistic side of things and the business side of things don't really mesh. But I finally got on and sold advertising for another 4 years. And then in 1990, I got married, and my next job was to either go to LA and expand my radio career up there in advertising, or stay down here and change jobs. And a buddy of mine was working for Coldwell Banker Commercial at the time. He was an industrial broker. And I started there, and I quickly learned that it wasn't as fun as radio advertising. There were no concerts to go to. There was no 91X nights at the bars in Tijuana and all that. It just wasn't as fast and as fun as what I was used to. My mother-in-law had been in the golf business, and so I'd met a lot of really interesting golf people, from Mr. and Mrs. Jack Nicklaus to Pete and Alice Dye to just people that were in the golf business in general, and heard that somebody within our company was selling golf courses. I thought, heck, if they can sell a golf course, I can sell a golf course. One of those things that I'm sure you've had people on your show where they go, no, this guy's doing it, I'm going to do it. So that's kind of was my mentality. And if I failed, I was going to go back into advertising. So I decided to sell golf courses. And that was in 91. And golf courses became golf resorts with hotels. And then it became master plan golf communities, the entire community with the golf course during the RTC days and FDIC days. So there's a lot of properties going back to the bank with golf courses, land and homes and stuff. So started doing that and became known for that. And then somewhere along the line sold a marina, and marinas were sometimes included in these sort of things. But then things really changed in 2008 with the great financial crisis. I remember I got a call from head of our capital markets group, Chris Ludeman, and he had been offered, or CBRE had been offered the opportunity to pitch on a property called the Yellowstone Club. And I wasn't quite sure what the Yellowstone Club was. I'd heard of it, private skiing, but that's all I knew about it. And he says, I heard you sold a ski resort. I said, no, it wasn't really a ski resort. It was a golf resort in Michigan that had 2 chairlifts that was like Bunny Hill. So I really couldn't call that a ski resort, Chris. And he said, well, nobody else has sold anything close like that. So let's put together a package and try to get the business. And lo and behold, we did. So we ended up representing Idra Blixeth in the divorce sale and bankruptcy sale of the Yellowstone Club. And if you don't know the Yellowstone Club, just look it up. It's up in Big Sky, Montana, probably the most prestigious golf and ski resort, privately owned community in the world. It's a pretty astonishing place. And that led to selling the ski resort across the mountain, which was Moonlight Basin. And then suddenly I became the ski resort guy, and I sold a lot of ski resorts for the next several years. So when you look back on 33 years of doing this, Dustin, it's amazing how fast it happened, but it also happened very slowly. It evolved into something I don't think I expected. But and people ask, how did it come about, and how are you still able to get listings and sell properties all over the place? And part of the key is I'm with a company, an organization that is global. If I had to be in San Diego and just sell golf courses here, it would have been a very short career. But since my backyard, basically my whole market is North America, there's a lot of golf courses, a lot of ski resorts and marinas that need to be sold and can be sold in this market.
You just covered more than a quarter of a century of experience in less than 5 minutes. So I want to go back
before.
Yeah, no, it is good, but I want to go back and dissect some of these things. Because one, let's go back to when you said you came down to San Diego, and what was your major in college? Like, where would you start? Like, what did you think you were going to do?
I was telecommunications and film. You've got a broadcasting background. You got a great voice. You know how to use it. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be their news broadcaster or something, and thought I wanted to be on the radio until I really learned how little they make. So then I wanted to go into television, and then I got into the advertising side of things. So I was thinking that I wanted to be in the television and radio business, which I was, and I did the radio thing for 10 years, including college, but finally got out of it in 1990. So telecommunications field, yet another graduate of a major that is not used in real life.
Yeah, there you go. So back to when you were the part-time, full-time working at the radio station, what was your best experience as far as like going to a concert or going to a show? Anything that stood out?
Oh gosh, I get asked, I've been to a lot of concerts, as you can imagine, and I love that genre of music. I was just up in Mammoth at a fly. Annually, I go up right at the same time every year, we go up to a place called Hot Creek Ranch and go fly fishing up there. And it's the same time as the Bluesapalooza festival that they have up in Mammoth Lakes, and it includes all kinds of bands. And one of the band that we went and saw that Thursday night was Los Lobos. And I was telling the guys that was the first band I ever introduced on stage, and at San Diego State's back door, and that had to be 83. I introduced that band in 83 or 84. But being on a stage and introducing a band, that's always fun. But I also had the benefit of interviewing some of these guys, in concert. I mean, some of them that we played on the radio, met Elvis Costello, and met a lot of great acts. I think probably, they talk about concerts. The concerts were great. I saw Dire Straits, the Brothers in Arms tour, and I saw the Clash twice. Saw the Police, their second tour. So, yeah,
Wow.
the music business is a lot of fun. I still have friends that are in the music business, and I'm able to luckily capitalize on the relationships that they have, so I can still go to concerts now.
That's very cool. And you mentioned getting introduced to the golf industry. You said your mother-in-law was in the industry?
Yes.
What part of the industry was she in?
She worked for the PGA. And then after leaving the PGA, she went to work for Nabisco. And she actually ran the Nabisco Dinah Shore tournament out of Mission Hills. And that's when she'd just left Florida, brought my wife-to-be as a senior in high school out to Rancho Mirage, and she ran the Nabisco Dinah Shore golf tournament out there. And then after that, Ann went to San Diego State, and we met at San Diego State.
And do you remember the moment you met?
Oh yeah, I still have a pair of I've got a pair of seats from Jack Murphy Stadium in our backyard where we met at an Aztec football game. And
Wow.
they just tore down Qualcomm Stadium, so I bought a couple of seats for a charity thing, and I got them in the backyard now by the pool.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, did you already play golf growing up? Is it something that you were familiar with the industry?
I
or
had
the
just
game
started
itself?
playing golf. No, I really wasn't familiar with the game of golf. I didn't start playing golf until I think it was my last semester at San Diego State, and it was an elective. And that's the first time I really, really played golf. And I always maintain, and people that know me and play golf with me, they can't believe how bad a golfer I am. But I do enjoy it. I'm an 18. But Dustin, I will tell you that you show me a good golfer, I will show you somebody either learned when they were very little or they got too much time on their hands, and I'm neither one of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. I hear that. As somebody who's late to the game, yeah, I like where I am with it, and I like my approach to the game. I really enjoy it. I like the process of getting better, but I also don't take it too serious. I really like the camaraderie and the experience of it. So yeah, when I play with the people that have been playing since they were, 5 to 10 years old, I'm always like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I kind of wish I got started earlier, but that's okay.
Or I have a very good friend of mine that's a former professional athlete. If you're an athlete, you can play as well. And so it gets frustrating playing with him because he can be really good.
So as you were coming into the sport and you see this opportunity to kind of, to get involved with it, was there anything that jumped out to you that was harder than something else? So, as you're experiencing commercial real estate and you're doing these transactions and you going forward, was there anything that surprised you getting into this side of the industry?
One of the reasons I got into it is as I started to investigate it, I started interviewing these people through my mother-in-law, Katie, people that are in the golf business, people that work for Marriott Golf, people that work, Mr. Nicholas and some other people. And my question was, who sells these golf courses? And the answer was often, I don't know. Or
Hmm.
as I dug into it, it was lawyers that were basically handling the transactions, and the transactions were done, between lawyers and business people, and that was it. And mind you, this is right as Club Corp and American Golf were just starting out as big owners of golf courses. So they weren't really traded all that much. The golf business went through a huge renaissance, in 1990s when Tiger Woods came up, the sport exploded. The National Golf Foundation, which is the keeper of all golf stats, it's ngf.org. If you want to look that organization up, great organization. They came out with a statement, I think sometime in, gosh, it had to be 93, 94, that in order to keep up with the supply of golf courses for the aging baby boomers that were retiring at 10,000 a day, that was the number they threw out. 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every single day starting now. We need to build a golf course a day to keep up with demand. And, pretty soon they were. They were building a golf course a day. There were several years where they built over 400 golf courses. And when I say day, these are developers who are building these golf courses in conjunction with residential developments. It's also, people that were just building standalone golf courses as well. But what happened was the golf space got way, way overbuilt. And then after the Tiger phenomenon kind of died down, play leveled out, and suddenly we had too many golf courses. And there was a big problem with getting and acquiring residential land to be developed. And so they started tearing out golf courses. And literally for the past, ever since 2008, when the financial crisis, they've been tearing out more golf courses than have actually been built for the last 15 years, 20 years. And
Hmm.
it's they're golf courses that shouldn't have been built in the first place, some of them, but some of them are good golf courses. You see golf courses all the time that get torn out and they replace them with residential housing. But the industry was oversupplied with golf courses. So what happened? What's happened of recent? I don't know if we can get into it now, but the golf has exploded again. But what happened was this dynamic of golf courses being torn out and wondering where the next golfer was going to come from. Is it going to be women? Is it going to be a minority? Is it going to be the millennials? When are these guys going to start playing golf? Because these old white guys, they can't just keep the sport going like they are. And then this gateway drug came along called Topgolf. And I remember being at these ULI conferences, and I'd be on a panel, and I'd be asked, "What about this Topgolf? Is that really golf?" It's not really golf. It's more like bowling, like a bowling alley. It's that people are drinking and having fun. It's like entertainment, but it involves golf, so it can't be bad for golf. And sure enough, it was a gateway drug to golf for the millennials because right after that, COVID hit. And COVID became the stimulus for the golf business because that was an activity that could be conducted outside, and you get your exercise. You're outside. Suddenly, everybody was playing golf. We went through a series, many years where golf courses were being torn out. So now we have the supply demand issue. And that's why golf has just absolutely exploded over the last several years.
And so the top golf phenomenon, you're right. I do equate it closer to like a bowling alley. I
Right.
never quite thought of it like that, but yeah, you're right. But to me, there's nothing like being outside and being with people that you enjoy spending time with and playing golf. And I guess in top golf, 'cause I haven't spent that much time at those, but it's different. It's good, but it's
Right.
different. But it
It is.
does act as an introductory source to the game.
Right. Yeah. And it introduced women, millennials, all kinds of people and in fact, I've never played it, but I've seen it. I've been to many of them, but I've never played it, but people thoroughly enjoy them. And along with what golf, with Top Golf, the technology of simulators has improved dramatically. And these
Mhm.
simulators are so good and so strong. People are playing these simulators. And one of the national golf statistics that came out recently, well, 2 years ago came out, and this year was the same thing, was that the golf, what they call it, off-grass golf participation. Off-grass golf participation exceeded on-grass golf participation for the first time ever last year and again
Wow.
this year. So, and of those people that just do off-grass, meaning simulators and Top Golf and putting courses and short courses, stuff like this, 25% of them want to play on grass. So I think there's
Mhm.
the belief in the golf industry is that this is a pretty long runway, and as long as the economy doesn't derail golf, I think the only thing that can really hurt golf is really access to golf. It's getting so expensive to go play. Private clubs are so expensive. Daily fee are so expensive, and that's the only thing I can really think that could derail golf.
Yeah, and I wonder about the repurposing or the reuse of some of the space that's available on the retail and office market, if that could be repurposed. And hopefully it will. But there's a lot here to the game of golf and all the technology and all the different things that are happening. Um,
Right.
but also that's just one part of your business. You mentioned marinas, you mentioned like a lot of the hospitality. If you were to break down a ratio of like how much that you work on is golf courses versus like villas or hotels, like how does that break out?
It varies, Dustin. It depends on what's going on in the market. Last year we happened lately a lot of it. I'd say probably I'm going to say 70%, maybe 65% of our business is pure golf. That's just because that's where the business is right now. But we also do a lot of land, a lot of land. We last year we sold, we were like, for example, I just got back from Belize. We're selling a huge project, a 19,000 acre project in Belize called Sanctuary Belize. There's no golf. There's a working marina. There's 1,000 lots. There's 2 private islands, a teak farm, a mahogany farm, a quarry. It's owned by the federal
Wow.
government. It was seized as part of a Ponzi scheme. So right now, these days, that's consuming a lot of our time. But I'd say probably, I'm going to say 65% is probably pure golf. And then the rest, 35% are hotels, resorts, land, that sort of thing right now.
And from my own curiosity, are most of the people that you work with, are these investment funds or any of these just private individuals that just,
Yeah.
as somebody would buy a vineyard, somebody wants to buy a golf course?
Right. That's see all the above. Our clients could be anywhere from private equity companies that we represent. Once they somehow they lent on a property and suddenly we got it back to remember that. So there's two sides of the transaction, right? There's the sellers and the buyers. The sellers
Mhm.
often are private equity companies that back a developer, and they have a time frame and a timeline on their money of anywhere from 7 to 10 years. And when that timeline's up, time to sell a project, no matter where it is, and they may still have 100 lots left. So then we'll get a golf course and 100 lots. Sometimes this private equity company invested in a fund that bought a bunch of loans, and by gosh, one of those loans is in a bad golf course. So we'll sell that. There are golf course companies out there that buy and sell and run golf courses. So those are often buyers, but they can often be sellers of golf courses. There's high net worth individuals that just family offices that love to own golf. I mean, heck, if I had the kind of wealth that some of these people I talk to have, I would love to own a golf course and a really, high-end golf course or high-end resort. So there's a lot of people that kind of collect those things. And sometimes the patriarch, which we're seeing a lot of times, the patriarch of a family bought this golf property, developed it over the years. It's been his job and his kid's job and everything. And now it's time to retire. And guess what? Kids don't want any part of the business. So time to sell the business.
So you mentioned, I believe the one you said before was the Yellowstone Club was
Yes.
the nice. Is that the nicest facility? What of all the places that you've been, of all the ones that you've seen, what is the nicest golf course event area that you've ever experienced?
Yellowstone Club's got to be the top, at the top. I mean, Moonlight Basin, which was another great ski resort and golf course. That was just, in fact, it was on they had it on that, it was like one of those tournaments with Tom Brady where he played Peyton Manning. That was at Moonlight Basin. That was right across the other side of the mountain from Yellowstone Club. That was great. I've sold some very, very nice golf courses. The River Club in Atlanta is a great golf course. Last year, we sold a property called The Grove in Nashville, Tennessee, which hosted a live golf tournament this year. Sold last year, again, we sold a portfolio of 3 golf courses for Pacific Life Insurance. One of them included a property called Greyhawk, which is 36-hole daily fee golf course in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's just a machine. That's also a fairly well-known golf course on the East Coast, a resort called Kings Mill. There's been some really fun ones. When I look back on some of it, there's been some fun ones.
Have there
And the
been
answer
any
is
that have?
no. I don't get to play every single one, Dustin, because that's the answer. The question usually comes: do you play everyone? I like to play everyone, and it does add. If it's just a golf course, I like to play every golf course because it does allow you the opportunity to see what the golf course is really like. Sometimes, you drive around. I drive around a lot of golf courses, and driving around them is one thing. When you actually play them and understand that the greens are very small, or understand that the bunkers are not in the greatest shape, or the landing area, or the tie-ins from the fairways to the greens is not great. And when a buyer comes back to me and says, "Did you play the golf course? Have you seen how small those greens are on the back nine?" You can say, "Yes, I have played it." So there is a
Yeah.
benefit to playing the golf courses. Besides, it's a lot of fun.
And so when you are investigating or you're inspecting these golf courses or doing your due diligence, is there like a team that you work with of like engineers or architects that you usually have on your team or you go along with?
No, typically my team it involves. We have a couple junior brokers, and then I have a senior underwriter. And the senior underwriter is in charge of underwriting the asset, meaning gathering all the information about the property and what type of golf course it is, the market information about the golf course, the irrigation system, who the architect was, writing, and basically creates and writes. We help them write the offering memorandum. We work on that, and then I have a very talented young lady on my team, Daphne Hagen, who is just fantastic at putting these crazy properties into an offering memorandum, interactive and also in a PDF version. So we realize that we are selling an asset that not only has stake, but it has the sizzle. And you gotta have the glitzy, really nice photographs, but you gotta have really good information that allows an investor to understand the asset, understand the market that they're going to be buying, and understand the financials. It's all that people are buying these to make money. So they want to understand
Mm-hmm.
how much money is it currently making and can I do better? And we got to explain how they can do better, why it should be doing better. So that's usually the team that we bring out to bring a property to market. And most of the sellers have a lot of that information. We have a whole list of information that we send to them, and they help me fill out a questionnaire and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and maybe this is the deep waters here, but I'm just thinking on the the commercial real estate side when you look at the capex and you're like, okay, this one needs a new roof. It's not that hard to figure out what that is depending on where it is in the country, and I'm just thinking from an engineering standpoint, what would be involved? And someone says, oh, this is a great golf course, but it's going to need bigger, more bunkers or this and that, and how you factor that into what the capex would be.
That's a very good question, Dustin. And it's the single biggest issue that comes up with all golf courses is what kind of deferred maintenance is there? Irrigation is the biggest one. So when you have a new irrigation system, we used to be able to go to a golf course, 18 holes, it's going to be about $1 million. It's $2 million now to put in a new irrigation system. There's always For some reason, the manufacturers and the amortization schedules, when you put in an irrigation system, is 20 years. Golf courses last more than, I mean, irrigation systems last longer than 20 years, but things start breaking. They have main lines and laterals, and the irrigation heads can be replaced, but that's a big number. Bunkers are a big number. When you have to start replacing bunkers at $40,000 to $60,000 a piece, put in the brand new, better Billy bunkers that drain well, and new sand. Greens need to be replaced, every 10, 20, 30 years, depending on the property and how high end you are. Club, and that's just the golf course, right? Then you got the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the maintenance facility.
Yeah.
You have the maintenance equipment. Is all the maintenance equipment, is it leased or is it owned? If it's owned, when are we going to need to turn over those greens mowers and the aerators and those sort of things? So you're absolutely right. When a buyer is taking into consideration the value of a golf course, you have to look at the deferred maintenance or the CapEx schedule that needs to be performed over on this golf course over the next 10 years.
As far as the different regions that you mentioned before, because you did mention, going over into Europe and in the Caribbean and these areas, are there anything that like really jump out in the differences, not necessarily of the topography and those areas, but the people? Like, do certain people are like, I only want golf courses in Florida because of whatever, or like,
Sure.
I'm only looking for West Coast? Is there what's the difference between the investor and where they're looking?
You're right. There's some investors that will look anywhere. There are some investors that just want private. Most of the investors, the savvy investors out there, really want high-end private. That's what they target. That weather is the best during a recession. So I've been through 3 recessions, and every single time the rich people still have money. So the private high-end clubs do better than the low-end daily fee golf courses. There are some people that will not buy in California because of the water issue, and because of the tax issue, and because of the labor issue, and the cost of labor that keeps going up and up out here. So I know people that just flat out will not look at a golf course in California. There are, I got some people that don't like Vegas. Other people love Vegas. Vegas has changed. Vegas is no longer just a casino town. I mean, they got a football team. They're going to soon have a baseball team, and they have a hockey team. So a lot of people think Vegas has changed, but Vegas too also have water problems. Arizona has water issues. So water is the single biggest issue impacting golf courses these days. And there are ways to create a golf course that's water efficient, and you can be in those markets. But you got to look at the other side of that sword, and your reason you're not in California is because the water is so expensive, and water is an issue. But then, Arizona, same thing. But the other side of that sword is they ain't building anymore. They're not going to allow golf. I mean, to get a golf course built these days, it is so expensive, and the environmental considerations, the cost of the land, the cost of construction, getting that much water, reclaimed or otherwise, it's difficult. So in these markets that are hard to function in, they're not going to have any more competition.
From your perspective, because I know there are people that play golf all the time in Florida, and there's Scottsdale. There's different hotbeds of golf, right? Like there is Southern California, there's Scottsdale, Florida, and then you got in your opinion, and again, this is your opinion, and you can change your mind on this too. I don't want to pigeonhole you here, but where
for playing or for investing?
Who's okay, from a basketball standpoint? Because I grew up playing basketball. There's people that like New York basketball is the best, and then people like Chicago, and then there's the LA. So, but where in your opinion would be the best golf culture, I should say?
The best golf culture. That's a good question. There's so many pockets as you described. I mean, Hilton Head to, there's these pockets where people go and play golf and they're on vacation and doing that sort of thing. I was born and raised in Southern California. I think the weather is everything. And the weather in Southern California is year round, and it is year round good. So as far as like me going out and playing golf, I love playing golf in Southern California. There's just nothing better. But there is nothing better in season going down to Florida and playing those golf courses down there. We were marketing a property down in Jupiter. Jupiter and Naples probably have the highest concentration of high-end private golf clubs in the world. I mean, I've never seen so many private golf clubs with initiation fees that are $300,000, $500,000. There's a golf club down just outside of Miami. The initiation fee, non-refundable, just got bumped up to $1.5 million. So
wow,
there's an incredible golf culture down there that's just phenomenal. In season, Scottsdale and Phoenix, those markets, oh my gosh. You go to Waste Management Open, look at that golf culture there with just watching golf and everything. So it's hard to
Yeah,
say where would be the best. And, you know,
I've
I will tell you
seen.
from around the world, you go down to Mexico, the cost of labor is so cheap. The margins that they drive down there are that like those golf courses you see in Cabo, extremely, extremely profitable because the cost of
Yeah,
labor is so
okay.
low. You're
That
paying in
that
US
makes a lot of
dollars.
sense.
You're paying 350 bucks a round for golf in Cabo in US dollars, and those laborers are making, 20 bucks a day. It's nuts.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So are you is there more development there? Because I know you said like there's been oversaturation in other places, but like down there, is it increasing or is there any place
Mexico,
that you're seeing?
I mean, it always seems there's always a new golf course popping up down there in Mexico, especially in that Cabo region. But Cabo has water
Hmm.
issues. They got big time water
Hmm.
issues. I don't. Last I'd heard, they were struggling on trying to, are they going to do reclaimed or whatever? But there's some. I mean, Cabo has just become a phenomenal golf market. It's one of these things I learned. I was selling a property in Anguilla, and it's a Caribbean island, and it had they were bragging that they had the only golf course in Anguilla. I found out that it's not good to have the only golf course on an island. People come to that island, they're not thinking they're going to play golf, right? They've got to rent clubs, they're going to take 5 hours out of the day. They're not in a golf mindset. And that golf course still struggles today. Cabo at one point only had a couple of golf courses. Now you go to Cabo to play golf. So back to your question, I think any place is a great destination when you can go and play multiple golf courses in a golf event. I show you the dunes. Look at
Hmm.
Bandon Dunes. I mean, that's a golf course that started from one or two, and now I don't know how many, 8 or 9 golf courses down there. It's become a bucket list item for a lot of people when they're going to go play golf.
Yeah. So do you know the story of Abandoned Dunes of
A
like
little
how?
bit.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go deep because I have never been there, but I've heard
Yeah.
wonderful things from many people that have been there. But really, it was just somebody who was like, "Hey, I want to do something with this. I want to." And actually, I'll probably have another story on here to have somebody come on and actually bring it out.
Yeah.
But what it's become from humble beginnings of like this would be a good place to have a golf course,
Right.
and now, like you said, 8 9 courses. That's it's
In
become the
Coos Bay,
mecca for golf.
Oregon, two hours from Portland. My son played baseball for college up there, and it's really in the middle of nowhere. And it's phenomenal what has become really a bucket list item for anybody who wants to play golf. It's amazing. But I will tell you, Dustin, for every story of Bandon Dunes, there's 50 others that never made it. I
Mm,
hear all the time, we're going to develop the next Bandon Dunes. Yeah, okay, knock yourself out. Golf
yeah.
course, one of the interesting things about golf courses and that whole concept of how we're going to build this golf course is that in 33 years of selling golf courses, I've never sold one golf course over replacement cost. And we talk about other forms of commercial real estate and buying things, and that's always the top thing. If you can buy something at below replacement cost, that's a big hedge on future competition. In golf, they all sell below replacement cost because they are all built in conjunction with a residential community or a resort or something where they make their money on the resort and they make their money on the residential. Because if you're just going to build a golf course and think you're going to make money building a standalone golf course, it just doesn't happen. Even Bandon Dunes is surrounded by all the rental properties that they own and that sort of thing. But there's very few stories about standalone golf courses that have actually been successful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense though. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
I want to go back to the beginning of what I said when I was like, man, like you have the dream job. A lot of people are like, you're in commercial real estate, you're traveling, you're selling these golf courses, and like, wow, like it's so impressive. But like most things, when you do something for a long enough time, you're doing something, it's a job. And there's
yeah.
things that you don't like about it. You don't have to give me the worst things, but are there certain things that you realize like, this isn't as good as I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yeah,
is there
yeah, yeah.
anything
No,
that you're like, oh, this is a job too. Like
right,
I'm working.
right. I think I get the travel is not. I mean, the travel is fun once you get there, but the whole travel thing is a grind. When
Hmm.
my kids were little, I literally went and toured a property, flew from San Diego to the Bahamas and back within 24 hours to make it to my son's baseball game. So
Wow.
the travel gets to be old, just the travel itself, the delays and all that. I think when I get most frustrated with the business, it's when I've made a poor decision on taking a listing. I don't get paid by the hour. I only get paid if something closes. So if I make a bad decision, I've wasted my time and wasted my reputation on taking a listing that was unsellable. We have to do a better job of choosing. I kick myself because if I choose poorly, I believe a seller is a seller at a market price. I can guarantee that seller that he's going to get the widest exposure, the best presentation of their property ever in the market, with selling the biggest upside ever in this thing. If they're going to get more from I can get them more from the property than anybody on the face of the planet. And I sincerely believe that. But sometimes that's not enough. And when that happens, there's no transaction, and we've wasted our time and we've wasted our reputation. So that's probably my biggest frustration in my business, is when I make a bad decision of taking a listing that's not sellable.
Does it feel like you're living your dream job though? Besides that, because those are a couple of frustrations that are completely understandable, but in the end, like, is it like, wow, this is amazing, like what I'm
It
doing?
is.
Are you grateful for it?
It is
Yeah.
fun. Oh yeah, last week I was in Belize, and
Mm.
we were touring this property, and the property happens to include 2 private islands. And we took this boat out and we're driving out of the water. It's a beautiful day. We're pulling up on this water. I see a tarpon come out of the water, jumping, and I see a permit go racing by. It's crystal blue water, and it's just stunning. I think, wow, there are worse places to be than Belize right now. So it is nice. And I remember when I got into the business, I kept thinking, gosh, I was leasing industrial buildings. And I said, if I could just sell one golf course, that would make up for 100 leases. I'd rather just sell one golf course than just to do, these leasing. So it was part of the reason I got into it. It is fun. That's probably the reason I don't know if I'll ever retire, because I just love what I'm doing. I love the people that I work with, the people that of the golf business and the resort business are great people. My lifestyle is, going to see some of these properties now. With being an empty nester, my wife tags along, and it's a fun time. You tack on another couple of days on the end of the trip and stay and see the area. So it is a fun job, and that's why I don't think that I will retire, and just kind of try to cut out the things I don't like to do and keep doing the things that I like to do, which is
Oh,
selling some really nice resort business.
yeah, that's the recipe. It sounds like it. But if you could do anything else with your career, like if you could imagine yourself doing anything else, is there anything that comes up that you've seen throughout your journey that you're like, you know what, I could have also done this. Like, this is good, but maybe I could have done.
There is one thing. This is back in 1989, when I was looking to get out of radio, and didn't know much about commercial real estate. My dad was in real estate, so I knew real estate a little bit. But this thing was coming down the pipe, and it was called product placement. ET made it famous with the Reese's Pieces. Now, product placement's everywhere. It's standard. You see the Pacifico bottle in the ad. You see all this, this thing. I think it would have been pretty cool to be on the front end of product placement and placing every time you see a brand in a movie or a television show, it ain't by accident, and somebody got paid. That would have been
Yeah.
fun.
Well, listen, before we go, you've been generous with your time. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm going to include a couple links in the show notes here, including your article that you wrote recently, Fairway to Success: Golf's Rebound and Its Influence on Hospitality Real Estate. I thought that was really well done.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything else that you wanna leave our audience with?
No, I think, I get often asked, what's the key to success in commercial real estate, or really, and it really is the same key to everything. And it's hard work, as you know, Dustin. You're not going to get anything in this world without working your tail off. And I was fortunate last year to be the top broker in San Diego County. I had about a couple minutes on the podium in front of the San Diego region for CBRE. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to be here next year. Probably not going to be the top broker, but I know the guys who are 2, 3, 4, and 5, the women and the men that are right behind me. It's the same group of people, and I know they have a work ethic that is as strong as mine. And to think you can just not work, 8, 10 hours, 12 hours a day and make a lot of money It just doesn't happen. I know on social media you see people that are doing less and making more, but that's kind of a fantasy. If you really want to get ahead in anything, and commercial real estate specifically, it's hard work.
So words to live by. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you, and congratulations on all your success. It's been an absolute pleasure and an absolute honor to have you on.
Thank you, Dustin.